This is the N59 out of Clifden. Ain't it something? Hello my friends. I wanted to share a few clips from the end of Mark and I's trip to Ireland as we made our way back to the ferry. But first, a short talk about the trip in general. Something I'd hoped to do with Mark, but due to us being all busy being grown-ups, we haven't got around to it. Which is a shame because he has a certain way with words, but you're stuck with me and that's how it is. While I'm yapping, I'll show you this footage which was taken after our ride out to Skye Road. Tom, whom we met and rode with that day, devised a route for Mark and I to follow on our way to Tipperary, where we were staying for the night, avoiding riding through Galway, which is a beautiful place by the way, but slow going. This route took us from Clifden to Ballinrobe. Sadly the camera ran out of battery before the best part, but if you're ever in the area, follow Google Maps from Clifden to Ballinrobe and I guarantee you'll enjoy yourself. It goes from these sweepers through this wonderful scenery to a roller coaster of a road. Okay, Ireland was magical. The people, the places, the landscape. And for us bikers the roads were outstanding. I think I covered our trip as best I could through the series, but there's a few things I would like to share about the adventure. Mark and I had ridden together on several occasions and I knew we were going to get along. In fact, he was great company. But I did have a few concerns leading up to the trip. One being that I don't travel well on water. I have been on rough ferry crossings that have left me feeling queasy for a full day after. Another concern, the weather. I planned documenting the journey on video and wet weather makes that a tricky business. Then of course there's the difficulty of drying gear, not to mention the effect on views. And the last thing I was a little worried about was accommodation. We had somewhere booked for a night in Wales on our way out and for the first night in Ireland, but for the rest of the week we would just find somewhere on the go. I wondered how much time that would eat each day and whether or not we would run into any difficulty finding anything in the right area. Would we end up sharing a bench in a bus shelter? Well, we did have camping gear and there should never be too much trouble finding a campsite, but B&Bs were preferable, somewhere to leave our gear safely, have a nice warm shower and rest in a comfy bed, leaving us refreshed and ready for another day of amazingness. Well, my first concern, the ferry crossing. Outbound there was only a slight swell and on our return it was like a mill pond, so no dashes for fresh air and no time lost recovering. What a relief. Secondly, the weather. Ireland's west coast is rather exposed, obviously, and I'm sure you're aware or can imagine wind and rain is quite common. But much to our surprise, and to the surprise of the locals, we were subjected to blazing sunshine and very warm temperatures for the duration of our little adventure. We really couldn't have wished for any better. It was paradise. Finally, finding accommodation. This is where I have to give a special thank you. Mark had organised somewhere to stay in Wales on our way out, and at Bunmahon, check with Bullet Wanderer for the proper pronunciation, for our first night in Ireland. From then on, every day we would stop around lunchtime and work out roughly where we would be by tea time. Mark would then contact his better half Lynn and daughter Amy and relay this information, and we would carry on our merry way while they got to work on finding us suitable stables. A couple of hours later we would look at the options and decide which suited us best, and once again relay that information and ride on while bookings were made. It worked brilliantly, and we had somewhere to stay with varying degrees of excellent every night. So Lynn and Amy, and Mark of course, thank you so much. It made a big difference and allowed us to cover much more ground than would have otherwise been possible. I think I managed to thank everyone else during the series, but once again thank you to Bullet Wanderer in episode 1, Jason, who we met in episode 2, Jana Fox of Royal Enfielders Ireland, we met in episode 5, along with brother Pete, Nuala the dog and Dermot, and Jana was responsible for arranging some of the meetups during the week. And Mike, who escorted us from the Burren in episode 6, and Tom, who I mentioned previously, from Sky Road in episode 7. Great to meet you at last. Thank you all for making the trip something special, something very special indeed. And thank you to you, the viewers, for watching and all the positive comments. I'll leave you now with some clips from the end of our journey, Cahir Castle, and some interesting stuff from New Ross in Wexford.
Hello my friends, well we're on our way to the ferry, so this is the last day in Ireland. Spent the night in County Tipperary, about 2 miles out of Tipperary itself. John Fox said try and have a look at Cahir, I guess that's how it's pronounced, Cahir Castle, which is kind of along the way, and we've got plenty of time. So that's where we're headed. Let's see what all that's about. So here's the little village of Cahir. Well, I'm guessing it's a village. Apologies if that's a bad pronunciation. I can't get a lot of the Cornish places right, so I ain't got much chance in Ireland. Wow, how beautiful.
The destination is on your right, Cahir Castle.
Look at that. How gorgeous. There's a fish down there, I bet you can't, oh there's 2, 3, 4, what, loads of them, bet you can't see that. Have a look at the other side of the road. How beautiful. God, love it. Yes, Jana, that was some pretty indeed. Thanks for the tip.
2.1 miles and around.
It's only 10 in the morning. Our ferry isn't until 6:15 this evening, but we need an easy day because we're going to pick up the ferry. It's about 4.5 hours. Back into Wales, Fishguard, and then we're gonna ride home through the night. Probably get home about 4 o'clock in the morning. Oof. Still County Tipperary as far as I know, but we're heading towards Waterford. There, we've just entered County Waterford. That little place back there was called Sur, I think. Sur, I don't know, S-U-I-R. Well, I saw a sign on the way down for New Ross in County Wexford. Said it was a historical town, so we'll come and have a look. Spotted this one, looked like a good place to pull up, the Dunbrody. Fair old thing. Right, let's try my hand at reading. The Great Famine. The potato blight that sparked the Great Famine reached Ireland in August 1845, the same year that Dunbrody ship first docked on the quays of New Ross. Farmers in the county Wexford lost around a third of their crop. The impact was immediate and people began to suffer real hunger. 2 years later, the year of Black 47, the situation had become dire. Although food was plentiful in the country, Queen Victoria's government continued its export. As a result, people left or died in vast numbers. An 1847 British parliamentary report claimed that from New Ross, 7 large ships are already engaged, and it is estimated that the emigration would amount to 5,000. In some cases, the voyage proved to be as daunting for passengers as the hunger they left behind. A report published by the Wexford Independent newspaper in 1847 described the worsening situation. It went on to state how the number of beggars in Wexford was surprising, and that many of these beggars exhibited a misery and hunger that was indescribable by words. They had cheeks like scorched leather, and their eyes were sunken. Their voices sounded as if they were emanating from a tomb, and inaudible from weakness. The potato harvest did not begin to recover until 1849, and the effect on Ireland was devastating. Around 1 million people died of starvation and associated diseases. A further 1 million people emigrated, many from this port. The Emigrant Flame. The first lighting of the Emigrant Flame was with fire taken from the eternal flame at the graveside of President John F. Kennedy in Arlington Cemetery, Virginia, USA. The flame travelled from Arlington over 3,700 miles by land, air and sea to New Ross. Here on the 22nd of June 2013, exactly 50 years after President Kennedy's visit to the town of his forefathers. The President's sister, Ambassador Jean Kennedy Smith, the President's daughter, Caroline Kennedy Schlossberg, and Ann Toysick, Enda Kennedy, TD, together lit the Emigrant Flame. The flame now burns permanently to remember all immigrants throughout the world. There you are. As slow our ship her foamy track against the wind was cleaving, her trembling pennant still looked back to that dear isle 'twas leaving. So loath we part from all we love, from all the links that bind us, so turn our hearts as on we rove to those we've left behind us. Thomas More, 1779, 1852.